Welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. This is your home to learn how to pick on the banjo, the mandolin, or the guitar. What did you think about that arrangement? I love that song. You know, probably more often than any other songs, I get requests for gospel music. And I know that gospel music's a huge part in the genre of bluegrass. It's my favorite thing to play, so it's definitely not a chore to do it. But I wanted to pick one of my favorite old hymns, and this is definitely one of them. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. I love the words to these songs. These old hymns they're just classic. The words are so solid. There's 3 verses that are normally sang. My favorite's the 3rd verse, I believe. It says, "What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms, I have blessed peace with my Lord so near, leaning on the everlasting arms." And I don't know if you lean on those everlasting arms. I know I do. And I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have the arms of the Lord to lean on. So I don't know what you're going through today, and maybe you're watching this video just by accident, but I'm telling you that there's nothing that you're going through that's too big for those everlasting arms to support you through. So I invite you to do that. If you have a question about that, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to tell you about the everlasting arms I lean on. But let's jump into this first measure of Leaning on the Everlasting Arms on banjo today. And if you're not a member of the website, I'm going to tell you to go over there in a little while where you can print out the tab to the solo just exactly as I played. And every week we do a solo for either banjo or mandolin or guitar, all kinds of different songs. There's a bunch of them over there, so go check it out. But let's dive right into this first measure of the banjo version. I've got this tab starting off with the kickoff. It's a fairly standard kickoff. Measure 1, it starts right there. It sounds like this. Okay, don't forget that beneath each one of the tab notes, I have your right hand fingerings labeled there. So the T stands for thumb, the index is represented by number 1, and your middle finger is represented by number 2. Those are the ones that I will use, although at certain times, just to kind of get this out of the way, I may use different ones, and this measure 1's a good example of that. That last pinch that happens there on the last beat of the measure, I have it labeled as using your index and your middle. Sometimes I may use my thumb in my middle. Okay, so in instances like that, it's not a big deal if we vary from what the tab has labeled there. But at other times, it's very important. But this kickoff, the important thing to remember here is that it doesn't start on the downbeat. It starts on the end of 1. So if you're counting that off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have trouble kind of coming in on an upbeat like that, you can just ignore that first little 8th note there and just come in with the first quarter note. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now we're going to try our best to follow this melody while at the same time being as creative as we can. So we want to present this melody in a few different creative ways. What's unique about this song is that the verse and the chorus of this old hymn are very, very similar. They actually have the same chord progression, and even the melody does some things that are similar. So we've got to kind of vary it up as we play through the song, just to give us a little bit of different flavors here and there. But measure 2, our melody goes, what a fellowship. Okay, so we're going to try to concentrate on that B note there. And we're going to do that just sliding into it, starting there in measure 2, and just accenting that B string as we do this forward roll. You hear that? There's other notes going on around it, but the accented note is our melody. And then our melody goes, what a fellowship. So we know that in measure 3, our melody note's going to be that open G string on the 3rd beat. So it's important to communicate that as we're playing it. I kind of do that? If we played all the notes in the same volume, a lot of times our melody won't come through very clearly, but we need to make sure and try to represent that melody using our right hand to control the volume. Now measure 4, we're going to go to a C chord, and this is interesting because it's an A note is the melody that's over a C chord. So typically an A note is not over a C chord. So we're going to play a part of a C chord up here in the first fret of the B string, the second fret of the D string. But once again, accent the second fret of the G string as our melody. And we're going to do a forward reverse roll in measure 4. Good, and that's going to carry on into measure 5.